I was helping my mother with her taxes. That was the arrangement every spring. She made coffee, I opened her laptop, and we spent an afternoon pretending she had kept better records than she actually had. She has never been good with taxes. She files things in the same drawer as takeout menus and old birthday cards, which means nothing is where it should be, but everything is somewhere. I was 3 months into her 1099s when I saw it. A transfer out. $400. To an account number I did not recognize. I almost closed the tab. I thought it was a mistake, a weird formatting thing, something the bank did automatically. But then I saw the next one. Same amount. Same day of the month. Different description each time. And the one after that. 47 transfers over 2 years. Nearly $19,000. All of it leaving my mother's account. None of it coming back. I called her into the room. She came over holding her coffee mug, still wearing her reading glasses on top of her head. I pointed at the screen. Did you authorize these? Her face went blank. Not confused. Not worried. Blank. The way it looks when she is trying to remember something she never knew. My name is Nora. I am 37, and I have been doing my mother's taxes since I was 23, which is really just a way of saying I have been looking at her finances longer than Gary has. My mother Diane is 62, retired from dental hygiene, and still writes checks like it is 1998. She trusts people until she cannot trust them anymore, and then she trusts them a little longer just to be sure. I asked her if Gary had access to her account. She was still standing behind me with her coffee, reading glasses balanced on her head. Yes, she said. We set that up years ago. For the household bills. I asked if Gary had his own account. She nodded. Of course. But he keeps his separate. For simplicity, he says. I don't know the balance. He handles his side. I printed the last 2 years of statements. I took a yellow highlighter from her kitchen drawer and went through every single transaction. Mortgage, electric, water. Those were highlighted in green. The transfers out, the ones to the account number I did not recognize, those I marked in yellow. One after another. The same amount. The same day of the month. Different descriptions each time. Utilities. Repairs. Miscellaneous. 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 I laid them out on the table. Mom, did you know he was moving money out every month? He must have told me. I probably forgot. 47 times? Long pause. She looked at the highlighted lines. Her hand went to her necklace, the little gold one she twists when she does not want to say something out loud. That can't be right. I did not say what I was already thinking. That she did not forget. She never knew. Because Gary never told her. Because why would he? He had access. He had descriptions that sounded like bills. And he had a wife who trusted him. 47 times. Nearly $19,000. And I had a feeling that was just the beginning. I called Gary and asked him to come over. I did not say why. I just said it was about the taxes and it would be easier to explain in person. He arrived 20 minutes later, still wearing his work boots, still smelling like the sawdust that followed him everywhere. He saw the printouts on the table before he saw my face.
Oh, that.
I can explain. He sat down across from me. My mother was in the kitchen, pretending not to listen. Gary leaned back in his chair like he was about to tell me something perfectly reasonable. It was a cash flow thing. You know how contracting is. Some months you're up, some months you're down. I was just smoothing things out. For 2 years. He waved his hand. Time got away from me. I was going to tell her. When? He shrugged. When I had the money to put back. I watched his face. He was not nervous. He was not ashamed. He was explaining something simple to someone who did not understand business, and he was being patient about it.
That was the part that got to me.
The patience. Like I was the one who was confused. I did not ask him why he never mentioned this cash flow thing when he bought the new truck 8 months ago. I wrote the question down on a piece of paper instead. Just the word. Truck. I folded it and put it in my pocket. I would ask it later. Right now, I wanted to hear the rest of his explanation. I wanted to see how many versions he had. Because if he had been moving money for 2 years and still did not have it to put back, then it was not a temporary arrangement. It was just what he did. And I wanted to know what his plan was for telling my mother if he never had the money. If he ever planned to tell her at all. I called Marcus after Gary left. He was still at his desk, which meant he was still in forensic accounting mode, which was exactly what I needed. Marcus has the emotional range of a spreadsheet and the loyalty of a guard dog. He does not hug you when you are upset. He asks questions. I read him the summary. 47 transfers. $19,000. No repayment. 2 years. He was quiet for a moment. Then he asked one question. Does your mother have a joint account, or is her name on his account anywhere? I did not know the answer. I called my mother back. She picked up on the first ring. Mom, is your name on Gary's account anywhere? Long pause.
No, she said.
He said it was simpler to keep things separate. His money, my money. That way we never fight about spending. I thanked her and hung up. So his money is his, I told Marcus. Her money is also his. That's not a marriage, he said. That's a theft structure with a ring on it. He said it was temporary. Temporary means 6 weeks, not 2 years.
2 years is a salary.
I sat on my couch with the phone against my ear and watched the light change through the window. Marcus was not going to rescue this situation. He was not going to call Gary or drive to my mother's house or fix anything. But he had done something else. He had renamed it
Theft.
Not borrowing. Not a misunderstanding.
Not a cash flow thing.
47 times. $19,000. 2 years of Gary treating my mother's account like an extension of his own and calling that marriage. I needed to know what my mother believed right now, because what she believed and what was actually in front of her might be two completely different things. And I was not sure she was ready to see the difference. I asked my mother to check her credit report. She hesitated, said she checked it every year, it was fine. I asked her when the last time was. She could not remember, so I checked it for her. 2 credit cards she did not recognize. Both opened 4 years ago, both with balances. One was nearly maxed out. I called her back into the room. She sat down slowly, like her legs were not sure they wanted to carry her anymore. Mom, look at this. She stared at the screen. Those are for household emergencies. Gary has the cards. Did you open them?
No.
But he must have. He said my credit was better. Diane called Gary while I stood there. She put it on speaker without me asking. Why are there credit cards in my name that I didn't open? Gary's voice came through the phone, calm and reasonable. Because your credit is better than mine. It made sense at the time. I've been paying them. Have you? Long pause. Most months. My mother looked at me. I looked at the screen. The balances. The late fees. The interest. Most months did not mean this month. Probably had not meant last month either. I asked her to pull Gary's credit report. She shook her head. That feels like a violation. He's been violating you for 2 years. Looking at his credit report is just catching up. She folded her hands in her lap. I need to think. I wanted to shake her. I wanted to print out every statement, every late fee, every transfer, and tape them to her refrigerator so she could not make coffee without seeing them. But I did not. I said, I'll be here when you're ready to look. Then I went home. I called Marcus. I cried for exactly 4 minutes. Then I stopped, because crying did nothing. And my mother was giving Gary time to think of his next explanation. Time he would use. I knew that. I just did not know if she knew it yet. Gary called me directly. Not Diane.
Me.
He asked if we could meet, just the two of them. I said yes. I wanted to hear what he would say when my mother was not in the room. We met at a coffee shop halfway between my house and theirs. He ordered black coffee and spent a long time stirring it. Then he made his offer. $200 a month. He would start paying Diane back. He wanted to make this right without lawyers. What about the credit cards? He nodded, like he had expected the question. I'll close them. I just need time. This is between family, he said. We don't need to get the courts involved. You opened credit cards in her name without telling her. That's fraud, Gary. Not family. She's my wife. It's not fraud if you're married. I stared at him. He genuinely believed that. Or he had said it so many times that the difference between belief and performance had disappeared. That's not how fraud works.
His voice changed.
The reasonable tone dropped away. Are you trying to destroy my marriage over money? I did not answer, because it was not my answer that mattered. Gary was not asking for forgiveness. He was asking for permission to keep doing what he had been doing. Just slower. Just with more oversight. $200 a month on a $19,000 debt would take nearly 8 years. The credit cards would be closed, but he would find another way. He would always find another way. And my mother was not calling him a liar. She was calling him her husband. I did not tell Gary what Marcus had said about the statute of limitations. For years in our state, he was well within it. I kept that information close. I was not threatening him. I was preparing, because Diane was not ready yet. But she would be, or she would not. And either way, I needed to know the answer to a question I could not ask out loud. Was she protecting Gary because she loved him? Or because she was afraid of what it meant if he was exactly who the evidence said he was? 3 weeks passed. No payments. I checked. Not because I was keeping score, but because I wanted to know if Gary meant what he said or just said what he needed to say to get out of a coffee shop. The credit cards were still open. I checked those too. The balances had not gone down. My mother called me on a Tuesday afternoon. Her voice was different. Not scared. Not confused. Just tired in a way that had nothing to do with sleep. I think he's lying to me about something else. What? He said the business was struggling, but he bought the truck in cash. I closed my eyes. She had finally asked the question I wrote down on that folded piece of paper. Truck. He used your money for the truck, I said. That's what the transfers were. Long silence. I could hear her breathing. I didn't want to believe it. I know. What do I do? I did not say I told you so. I did not mention Marcus or the statute of limitations or the 47 transfers. None of that would help her right now. First, we pull his credit report. Then we decide. Are you ready to look now? I asked. Yes. That one word. Yes. It took her 3 weeks to get there. 3 weeks of telling herself the man she married for 11 years might not be the man she thought he was. 3 weeks of wondering if knowing the truth was worth losing the story she had been telling herself.
She said yes.
And that was the shift. Not a confrontation. Not a fight. Just a woman on the phone with her daughter, finally ready to see what was actually in front of her. I pulled up the credit reporting website while she stayed on the line. I typed in Gary's information. I hit enter. And I waited to see what would come up. I'm over at where silence ends. Subscribe if any of this sounds familiar. The credit report loaded line by line. Gary had 3 accounts in collections. His personal account was overdrawn for most of the past year. The truck payment showed up every month on time, but nothing else did. No utility bills. No credit card payments. Just the truck. I printed it and drove to my mother's house. She was sitting in the living room when I arrived. Gary was already there on the couch, pretending to read something on his phone. I handed my mother the printout. She read it slowly. Then she looked at him. You told my daughter it was a temporary arrangement. 2 years isn't temporary. Gary put his phone down. I was protecting you. From the stress. Protecting me from what? From knowing how bad it got. How bad is it now? Long pause. He looked at the floor. I don't know. I stopped checking. I spoke once. Just once. Gary, you took $19,000 from her account and opened credit cards in her name. You need to tell us exactly what else there is, or we're going to find it without you. He looked at my mother. She did not defend him. She did not say he meant well, or he was a good man, or this was between them. She just looked at him. And for the first time in 11 years, she looked at him like a stranger. Like she was seeing someone she did not recognize sitting on her couch. He opened his mouth, closed it. I watched him try to find another explanation, another version, another way to make this sound like something other than what it was. But my mother was not protecting him anymore. And without that, he had nothing. Gary moved into the guest room that night. My mother did not ask him to leave the house. She did not ask him to stay. She just went to her bedroom and closed the door and let him figure out where to sleep. That was the first sign that something had broken that could not be fixed with an apology. I came back the next day. We sat at her kitchen table, the same table where I had highlighted 47 transfers, and I walked her through everything. Freezing her credit, closing the unauthorized cards, setting up a new account at a different bank, one Gary could not access. She signed every form without arguing. That was the second sign. I don't know if I want a divorce, she said. You don't have to decide today. You just have to stop the bleeding. She nodded. Then she looked at me with wet eyes. I feel stupid. You're not stupid. You trusted your husband. That's not stupid. That's marriage. Then why do I feel like I should have known? I set the pen down. Because you're blaming yourself for something he did. Stop. She did not argue. I thought about what Marcus had said about the statute of limitations. For years, Gary was well within it. I mentioned it to her, not as a threat, just as information. Something she should know before she decided anything. She shook her head. I don't want to press charges. I just want him to leave. I did not argue with that either. But I wondered what leverage she had if she would not press charges. Gary had spent 2 years taking money he did not have permission to take. He had opened credit cards in her name. He had lied to her face, over and over, and called it protection. If she would not use the law, what would make him go? A request. A conversation. The hope that he would finally do the right thing. None of those had worked so far. Gary moved out 3 weeks later. He signed a repayment agreement first. $200 a month. Diane agreed not to pursue charges. I sat next to her while he signed it, watched his hand move across the paper, watched him write his name like he was just doing business. She did not cry. She did not thank him. She just took the paper and folded it and put it in her purse. I helped her change the locks. I sat with her while she updated her will and removed him from her life insurance. She did each thing slowly, carefully, like she was learning a new skill. Protecting herself. She had never had to learn it before. She made coffee in her own kitchen one morning, just her. No one else in the house. I was sitting at the table. She poured 2 cups and sat down across from me. It's quieter in here now, she said. I didn't know I needed quiet. Do you think he loved me? I thought about the question. Not the easy answer. The real one. I think he loved what you gave him. I don't know if that's the same thing. She looked at her coffee. That's sad.
Yes.
It is. I did not tell her that Gary would probably stop paying the $200 after a few months. I knew that. Marcus had run the numbers. Men like Gary did not change. They just found new arrangements. But my mother needed to arrive at that conclusion herself. Some lessons cannot be borrowed. They have to be lived. I drove home that night thinking about 47 transfers and a truck bought with money that was never his. I thought about my mother's face when she first saw the statements. Blank. Then confused. Then something worse than anger. Grief. For the marriage she thought she had. For the man she thought she married. I did not save her. I just held the flashlight while she counted the damage. That is not rescue. That is what daughters do when fathers leave and stepfathers borrow what they were never given. I'm over at where silence ends. What did you find when you finally looked at someone's credit report?